Hi, welcome to the Winter Film Awards International Film Festival. My name is Selma Ducanovic, and I'm here with Robin, the director of the film Lost Cause. So Robin, tell me about your role in the film and what your film is about.
Well, I wrote and directed it, so I started the project about 4 years ago, and I always wanted to do a project about the relationship between trauma and performing arts. I've been in performing arts my whole life, so I noticed that there's a very direct relationship between people that experience trauma and the way performance art can help them to express themselves and to be free, but also find a sense of community, sort of family. And it has always inspired me what the relationship is. So that was the basic idea of the movie. It's about a woman that is severely traumatized, both in her youth and in her young life. And she finds a way to cope with it, not without major setbacks. And it's against the background of American culture through comic books. So there's a lot of animation in it. It's about how you can escape daily life through your imagination.
And are you a big comic book fan, or did you just get interested in exploring it through that kind of like adding that element into the film?
I'm not a great fan. I'm just a great fan of storytelling and how people use different ways of getting inspired. And, comic books, superheroes, such a great part of American culture and entertainment, and it inspires a lot of people. So I wouldn't say the movie's about it, but it shows the relationship. It's basically, a way to become a superhero yourself. Everybody can be a superhero.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's definitely really cool. So then you're talking about something that's very deep, trauma in relation to the arts and working through that. Dealing with something that deep, what kind of obstacles did you run into when writing the film or when making it, post-production, that kind of stuff, dealing with either this topic or anything really?
Well, when you do a movie or any project, theater play is not different. You run into obstacles all the time on every level. It's basically damage control from the start. Mm-hmm. But on a positive side, I had a great time seeing the story come alive, and a lot of the actors were actually first-time actors. Mm-hmm. And it was just great to work with them. The community of cosplayers play a part in it, and you just realize that a lot of people are entertainers or performers, from themselves. And it was just great to play around with it and make them come alive. A lot of cosplayers in the movie are themselves. I don't act anybody else than themselves. Mm-hmm. So it was also a nice look inside that world. And we created it in an underground club that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. But maybe it should, wouldn't it be great to have a club where people can go to hang out as cosplayers, burlesque performers, or, superheroes. So wouldn't that be a great thing? So actually, that's what the Lost Cause is, the name of a club. Mm-hmm. So the club is the home base of the movie.
Hi, my name is Selma Ducanovic, and we are here at the Winter Film Awards International Film Festival. I'm sitting with Carly Wilkins, the co-producer, writer, and an actor in Yellow Lines. So tell us about Yellow Lines, what it's about, and what inspired you to write it.
Sure, yeah. So it kind of came out of, I've been wanting to write something like this for a while. It's very loosely based on my old roommate and I, Kristin Papadopoulos, our lives together. And so once the pandemic hit, we were kind of in lockdown together, and we were just not doing very much. All of a sudden I had time to write, and so that's kind of what came out, just a whole bunch of word vomit as a first draft for the whole first season. And so then I'd send it to Kristin, and we kind of workshopped it from there, but it's very much born out of our time together as roommates.
That's really sweet. So then writing it in the pandemic, was that an obstacle or did that help you in, getting it written, getting it down?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it helped because we had time on our hands, so it was really nice to sit down. I'd been thinking about writing something like that for a while, but just with everything that was going on, it was difficult to actually focus on it, but I was blessed with some extra time on my hands, and so that was really nice to just sit down and have the time to focus and just kind of write and see what came up.
And have you written before? Like, did you do other projects and this was just always like in the back of your mind, or was this really your first kind of foray in this type of medium?
It was definitely my first in this medium. I'd written for theater a few times, and I've been a part of a few festivals with plays that I've written, short plays, but this is the first time for a film medium. And it was actually really cool to explore the short formness of it since I'd been kind of familiar with the short play genre, so then writing shorts for the screen was an interesting transition, yeah.
And this is Kristin Papadopoulos. She is the co-producer and also acted in the film Yellow Lines. So first, just tell us about Yellow Lines, your involvement in it, and kind of how you helped make it happen.
Sure. So Yellow Lines was born out of the pandemic. It is loosely based off of my relationship with Carly Wilkins, who was my roommate at the time. And it's just, it mirrors a female friendship and just what happens in your early 20s around that time. And my involvement in it was from a co-producer standpoint, also from an acting standpoint. And I would say that the writing and editing process of it though the idea was born prior to the pandemic, the meat of it happened during that time.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think it was about the pandemic that kind of sparked this into creation, that kind of made you guys leap into like, let's tell this story about female friendship?
Time on our hands. I remember when we were living together at this time, like Carly having the idea of Yellow Lines, the title, and it correlates with the subway lines. We were living in Astoria at the time. So the yellow line, the actual yellow line, and characters within the series reflect the subway letters that are on that line. Spoiler, sorry Carly, I'm not sure if I was supposed to say that.
Well, my film Ni Aquí Ni Allá is a personal documentary. I was the director and producer of it. I also edited. It started as my thesis film for my school, for my MFA program. And after finishing the film, I was able to travel around and take it in documentary, but it's actually premiere here. It was the first time that I actually have it in person in New York City. So the documentary is that it's like really personal. It follows a conversation of me and my mother talking about my gender identity, and it was great having it here and watching it with New York folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that sounds like a scary thing. That sounds deeply terrifying. What made you want to do it, like, and make that documentary happen and face that fear? I think I would love to hear.
Definitely, I think film for me is something that I take as a space to reflect and a space for me to heal, and I use it definitely like as I use the camera also like as a guard, right? Like I was able to have that conversation with my mother because I was making this film. I think for me it was a little bit more hard to just out of the nothing, just like have that conversation. So I use this film for me to be able to break that barrier and like be able to like actually face my fears, right? So I feel for me the camera give me and allows me to be able to break that space of like introvert that I have, and break that space of like, oh, I'm too afraid to talk about this. When I'm like more in the directorial position or in the producer position, it's easier for me to actually like talk about those topics and like be more in depth of them.